Hi everybody, and welcome to another Nighthawk Racing track guide. This time around Suzuka in the Group 3 AMG. So, start the lap, going on the long straights, and then reaching turn 1. This is a corner that is crucial to how the rest of the lap will go. So, you can use 2 points as a reference for your braking. You can use either that patch of tarmac that's to the right hand side of the pit lane exit as your braking reference, or you can also use the 50-meter board. And by that point, whichever one you choose, make sure that you're already turning in and applying the brakes. So in this one, you obviously need to apply a bit more power on the brakes at the initial phase, and then by the time you get past this curve, you should be like roughly just using the brakes in order to get the rotation on the car. You should be basically in second or third gear in most cars, and just be careful with aggressive turning inputs, especially in the wet conditions. Then you should aim for this curve here on the exit, and then we head on to the S section, which is quite tricky, but a trick that I can give you so that you can have a good performance through this section is that whenever you're approaching one of these curves, just give a small tap on the brakes just to keep the car kind of in check, get a little bit of rotation, the weight transferred to help you do the rotation and kind of keep the car in check. And obviously you'll be accelerating for most of these parts, and then once you get to these curves, as I've mentioned, slight tap on the brakes. But when you get to this corner, which is the last one on the first sector, you're going to use the beginning of this curve on the right as your braking reference. You're going to have to brake a little bit more for this corner compared to the others, and then probably going to be again in second, third gear. You can use second gear to get a little bit of rotation, third gear on the exit. When you approach this one, you want to be on the right to get here, and then you might need to short shift in a few cars. I usually need to do like a small lift on the accelerator just to get a little bit more rotation on to counteract the kind of understeer that this corner tends to give the car. And then just power through on the exit. Be careful not to run too wide, because it's easy for you to get stuck on the gravel or the grass. And this corner right here is fully flat out, and then we approach the two Wagners. The braking reference for this one is just before this 50-meter board. A downshift might be needed in a few cars for stability. You might just stay in the same gear, usually third or fourth gear. Once again, be careful not to run too wide, as these curves will spit you out of the track very easily. And for Wagner 2, you're going to brake just before the end of this curve on the left. And you're going to be in second gear in most cars, and sometimes it is recommended to short shift into third with some cars to get a little bit more stability. Then we approach turn 10, which is flat normally, but in wet conditions it might cause a few issues if you're on full throttle, especially in heavy rain conditions, so just be aware of that. And then we head towards the hairpin, so you want to be braking basically at the end of this curve on the right, and you're going to be in first gear to get the maximum rotation, and considering it's a very low speed corner. And by the time you get to the apex, in some cars it might require you to do short shifting, basically to second gear, just before you apply the full throttle, just to give the car a little bit more stability. So you're just going to power through this corner. Be careful not to run too wide on the exit. These corners are done flat out in the dry, but beware in the wet, as they can be quite unforgiving and very difficult to keep the car fully stable. Now we approach the spoon corner. In here, you're going to use this patch of tarmac to my right as your braking reference. by the time you get to the 50-meter board, you should be turning into the apex. Gonna basically trail brake until this first curve, then accelerate, touch this curve on the right here, kind of like this, just slightly, don't go too wide. It's very easy to lose control of the car and spin in here. And yeah, for the first apex you're going to be in third gear, and then for the second apex you're most likely be in second gear just to give you a little bit more rotation, but some cars you might need to short shift onto third gear. And be careful with this curve on the exits, but if you run a little bit too wide, once again, it's super easy to spin. When we get to this straight, and we are going to approach the final set of corners. This one, 130R, is almost done fully flat out. You should be turning in at the 50 meters. You might need to do a small lift just to make sure that you keep it within track limits. Yeah, you don't want to be running wide again because of how easy it is to lose control. It's a very low grip on the outside. And then we approach the Casio triangle, the last set of corners. So you want to be braking just before the 100-meter board. You're gonna be basically in first or second gear by the time you get to this part here. Short shifting as you get to the apex in most cars, and you want to keep the car as straight as possible so that you can basically reduce the distance you need to go on this bit of the track. Basically just kind of straight line it in a way. Yeah, just use all the curves available, and for this second curve you might want to be on third gear at the exit. Yeah, just as another little tip, if you're doing a qualifying lap and you're getting to the end of the lap, you want to stay as close to the right as possible, just to shave off a few fractions of a tenth. Sometimes can be worth a tenth or more. But whilst you're starting the lap or just racing normally, you might want to take a wider line just to carry more speed going into this straight. Yeah, so it's very important that you get this chicane right in order to maximize your speed going into here. So yeah, this is it, a lap around Suzuka. I hope you liked it.